Welcome to the Straight from the Heart podcast, a show by the makers of Oritis about some stories and unconventional wisdom from Oritis, which helps you to work and run your business in a better way. Our today's topic is impact of ID on visually impaired people. For this, we have our distinguished speaker, Mr. Shaswat Jena from ID. ID is a multiple award project by Ginger Mind Technologies Private Limited. At ID, they build products to empower people having vision impairment with technology to help them lead an independent life. Welcome Shaswat to a Straight from the Heart podcast. We are highly obliged and privileged that you came to our podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Globally, the number of people of all ages visually impaired is estimated to be 285 million, of whom 39 million are blind. There are lots of applications, assistants, technologies available with a wide range of features such as reading texts by scanning, identifying colors, and much more. As there are two phases of coin, every technology has its own limitations. So, coming to your application, how you came up with the idea of making this?
Okay, so it was back in 2012 when we were asked to spend a day at NAB Bangalore, which is National Association for the Blind. And as part of corporate social responsibility activities, we were supposed to spend a day over there. And that was the first time actually we saw a blind person using computers. And prior to that, we had no idea that computers could also be used by a blind person. And that person was a coder. But the next couple of things that happened on the same day changed our perspective and made us, start the thing that we are currently doing, which is ID. So when the person was called upon the stage to interact, initially he was facing in the wrong direction as not in the direction of the crowd. And he started simply just like any of us by saying hi. And all of us at that point of time were still awestruck because we were seeing a person who was blind but he was a coder. And then he tried again by saying hi, and the second time when we responded, he gradually faced in the direction of the crowd and then started having a meaningful conversation. And that is when it struck us, can't we do anything with the existing technology, with the existing set of devices, with the solutions that they're available in the market. And then gradually came up with the idea that let's use computer vision and machine learning or things like that to help the visually impaired be more independent and more productive.
So, from idea phase to product phase, what were the challenges you faced and how you overcome those challenges?
Okay, so just like any other product, when you have an idea or you basically observe a group of people for their need, there's a lot of hypothesis actually which goes into an idea, and eventually you go on validating these things. And we had we had to overcome and then gradually develop clarity in the sense. One thing that has helped us immensely is that being in consistent touch with the users and then working very closely with the community, because that helped us in multiple ways. We could verify, validate, our hypothesis. We built, we spoke to them, identified the exact problem statements. Then, we would go back to them to evaluate it and then go on gradually building those things. And then, subsequently rolling it out to a larger user base. Having said this, while this was part of the product journey, there are certain challenges that we face when it comes to, financial aspects of it. Because when developing products for the disabled community or for the society, unlike any other startups, which typical startups that you see, they go on to raise VC funding and similar things like that. While for us it was slightly challenging. However, there were a number of organizations who were always out there, and we were part of multiple, accelerators that helped us learn and develop clarity around the product, and also helped us to, gain all the necessary skills and knowledge when it comes to developing a product and then scaling it up. And the awards and the grants that we have received over the period of time helped us, to stay afloat, helped us to stay, bootstrapped and continue focusing on our innovations and make sure that we don't deviate away from the roots or our why, which is to help the blind and visually impaired community by providing them with affordable and yet sophisticated technology that would help them be more independent and more productive.
As your product was launched in 2016 and currently your ID Pro version is released, could you tell about the features available in this new release of Pro version?
Oh, yeah, sure. So prior to this ID Pro, we had free version of the app, which helped our users in basic set of things, which is like in basically three major key areas. One is location awareness, other is navigation, location awareness and navigation, other is object identification, and third is learning. And then gradually, there's something which is very peculiar when it comes to this community. This community has been really supportive to us, because the people from the community have come forward to help us, translate this app into multiple languages, to 16 languages to be very specific. And then they are the ones who came up with the idea that if you guys, are serious about it, if you guys are really committed and you guys are continuously building and evolving this product, then why don't you build some, build a paid version of it, or add some kind of subscription mechanism or a payment mechanism, so that we would love to support this initiative, and this would also help you build more capacities, and the funds would help you add more features, and so that you could have more resources working on the project. And that is why basically we started the Pro version. While our initial idea always behind the product was to make this product free for everyone globally. Then while we heard it from our users, we went forward, spoke to them about a price point that was good enough at that point of time, for our users, and then gradually it kept on building and adding features. Today the apps help our users in those basic areas, as well as help them in with some advanced requirements as well. Like it helps them read all Indian languages. We started off just with English. It detects all these languages automatically, and doesn't matter whichever font is being used, if it is scanned, if it is something that they take pictures. It helps them to by guiding, so that they can take good quality pictures, so that they don't miss out on the content. It helps them to be aware of the location when they are traveling. It notifies them when they reach when their bus stop is approaching or their office is approaching. It helps them read a lot of PDFs and books which were earlier not easily accessible for them. And these are something that we identified by working very closely with this community itself. To give you a story, there is this instance where this guy from Maharashtra, his name is Prathamesh. So Prathamesh once called me, and he mentioned that I take bus every day from my home to my school and or to my college, and I usually ask the conductor to let me know when my stop is approaching. And there's this particular instance when the conductor somehow forgot or missed out, and he missed his stop. So Prathamesh was using our app, and he came to know that his stop has passed. because I have notified him about his location. And then he went to the conductor and asked him, confronted him basically, that you didn't inform me about my stop and it has now passed. So when this guy asked him, how did you come to know that your stop has passed? Then he said that there are people, who are working for us. There are technology solutions which are available out there that I can use to be aware of my locations. There have been many similar instances where, people, our users have used our app to, read the labels on the medicines, find out the expiry date, and then, confront the shopkeepers. And take an informed decisions and get the right product that they are paying for. So, and these are the kind of stories which keeps us going, which keeps us motivated to keep on building for this community. So while it might seem like a very simple thing from outside, the kind of impact that we observe day in, day out while speaking to our user base is something, and the kind of use cases that we find out in the real life by talking to people is much more than we initially thought of.
Okay, so which feature is used the most among all of them?
So there's a couple of features which are used, a lot. So for instance, these days there's a lot of content out there shared basically in forms of images, both on social media, on personal communication channels, basically while they are communicating on WhatsApp, on office groups, on emails, and so on and so forth. And essentially, images are something which can't be understood or consumed by the visually impaired person because they don't have the ability to see. And this is something that again we identified after speaking to our users. And then once you build this feature, what this basically does is it will describe not just the content of the image, it will also read the text in it. Let's say you have this image of a sunset and it says good morning or good evening, and it has a quote written on it. So what the app would do is, as soon as you share it with the ID app, it would say that it's a picture of a sunset and there's a quote written on it, and it says good morning, and it would start reading the quote. Doesn't matter whichever language it is in, it would automatically detect that and read it out to the user. So this is one of the features which is very highly used. Apart from that, a lot of people use Where Am I and PDF reader or the reading based features, and especially there's a lot of requirement around reading during this lockdown scenario, as most of our users and many students are dependent on the app.
We had heard about the features. Now, how do you reach to the people who have this problem during this pandemic situation of COVID-19?
Okay, so we work actually very closely with a number of NGOs and a number of organizations throughout India. We do have partner organizations in Nepal and Bangladesh, and our translators across various countries and are also our point of contact for those specific regions, who continuously are advocating about the product or the product journey that they have been part of, and essentially they are the ones who keep sharing the word about it. Apart from this, specifically during this pandemic, what we are doing is we are working with these organizations, being part of various webinars or discussions around assistive technology or technology for the blind and visually impaired, to spread awareness around the product and also to identify and and to discuss about the need of products like this, specifically during pandemic, because all of us are stuck at home. Students don't have access to, they're at home, they don't have access to books, or let's say be it braille books or audio books. There are visually impaired employees who are working from home. They don't have access to various tools that they had at office, or in general, they are now in their home setup and they still have to do the same set of work. So during this time, what they can do is they can use this tool, the product that they have built, to be independent, not just in their day-to-day life, but also to be productive at their work as well. Because it would read a lot of content in multiple languages, in all major Indian languages, and describe it to them. It would tell them about various things. Let's say there's some specific circular or notification is being shared, so they can consume that and necessarily don't have to depend on others to take an informed decisions or to take an action which they are supposed to do.
Well, after hearing about your beautiful and great innovation, from facing challenges to a wonderful features for the visual impaired people, now how many languages and countries you have reached till date, and what is your future plan?
Okay, so today, as we speak, we have users across 160 different countries, and the app is available in 16 different languages. And essentially, the app has been translated by visual impaired people or blind people who are our users also. We see close to 25 users every minute on an average who keep on using our app. And we have close to 70,000 plus users globally. So having said that, there are, and it's a very small portion of the entire visual impaired community that we have addressed till now. Because if you look at the current stats when it comes to vision impairment that has been provided by WHO, it says more than 2 billion people have vision impairment globally. So we as a company, we have been focused, and it has been our focus to not just build technology, but to make sure that people all across the globe have access to this cutting edge technology solutions and are using it to be more independent and more productive. So we as a company are focusing to help the next billion visually impaired to be more independent and productive in their day-to-day life.
So that's all for now. Thank you, Shaswat, for taking some time for us and tell us about such a great and useful technology.
ID is one of the brilliant applications to empower visually impaired through technology. They are working hard to remove the difference between people with and without impairment. They have over 70,000 users, removing the barrier of marginalization across 60 plus countries. We, the Oritis family, thank you for bringing such a novel application to this society. You are the bringing smiles in lives of thousands of people. We request you to bring many such more technologies to make such people live their life without any feeling of being different from the others, and do great advancement in your noble ideas. Stay tuned for further more episodes. We will come back again with more such personalities and share their knowledge and experiences. For our episodes, you can subscribe us in Google Podcasts, Spotify and Anchor.